My dear listener, gather close and let me take you on a journey into the heart of an African village, a place where the sun kissed the red earth and the river sang its endless song. But this was not just any story of water and waves. No. This was the tale of a village that woke up one day to the wrath of a spirit they thought was long gone. For many years, the people of Aroko village lived peacefully by the great river. The river gave them fish, it gave them water, and it gave them life. But beneath its calm waves, something ancient was waiting. Something that would change their lives forever. This is the story of the dead mermaid who rose from the water to torment the village. Was she wronged? Was she betrayed? Or was she simply angry because the villagers disturbed her rest? No one knew the answer, but everyone would feel her fury. Stay with me till the end of this tale, for it is not only a story of fear, but also a story of wisdom, courage, and the choices that shape our destinies. Now, let us step into the first scene. The village of Aroko was beautiful. Every morning, the children ran to the riverbank, laughing and splashing water on one another. Fishermen cast their nets, and women came with clay pots balanced on their heads to fetch water. Life seemed perfect. But deep in the water, far beneath where the sun could reach, lay the body of a mermaid. She was said to have been a guardian of the river centuries ago, half woman, half fish, with eyes that glowed like moonlight. Some said the villagers once betrayed her, others said strangers from afar captured and killed her, throwing her body into the river. The truth had been forgotten, but her spirit had not. On one hot afternoon, a fisherman named Ode threw his net into the river and felt something heavy. Smiling, he thought, "Oh, this will be the biggest catch today." But when he pulled it up, the net tore apart, and a strange ripple spread across the water. Ade frowned, shaking his head. "Strange, this has never happened before." He went home, but that night, he dreamed of a woman with long hair, her face pale, her voice whispering, "Why did you disturb me?" He woke in sweat, his heart racing. He did not tell anyone, thinking it was just a bad dream. But the next morning, the river that once flowed calmly turned dark, as though mourning. Fish floated dead on the surface, and the children who touched the water came back shivering with fever. The elders gathered in fear, whispering, "The river is angry. Something has been awakened." Little did they know, it was only the beginning. The villagers were worried. The river was their life, without it, they had nothing. Ade sat quietly in his hut, still thinking of the dream. But that night, he saw the woman again. She appeared at the edge of his bed, her voice cold as the wind. "You have broken the silence of my grave. You must answer." Ade shouted and woke, trembling. He ran to the elders and told them everything. The oldest among them, Baba Ojo, shook his head slowly. "This is no ordinary dream. Long ago, our fathers told of a mermaid who guarded this river. They said if her rest was disturbed, her spirit would rise with anger." Soon, more signs appeared. At night, villagers heard singing by the riverbank, a voice too sweet and too sad to be human. Goats refused to drink from the river. Palm trees near the water began to dry and bend, as if bowing to an unseen queen. Then one evening, a little boy went missing. His mother said he had gone to play near the water. All they found were small wet footprints leading to the river and stopping at the edge. The villagers cried, "The mermaid has taken him." Fear spread like fire. Nobody dared go near the river again. And yet, each night, the singing grew louder, echoing through the village. It was no longer a tale. The dead mermaid had awakened. That night, the moon shone bright, and the village lay in silence. But at midnight, a loud splash echoed across the river, followed by a chilling laugh. Everyone woke in terror. Mothers clutched their children, men held sticks and spears, though they knew such weapons were useless against spirits. Ade could not sleep. He heard footsteps outside his hut and peered through the window. There she was, the mermaid, her long wet hair trailing, her eyes glowing like two lamps. She walked as though floating, leaving a trail of water behind. She whispered, "You disturbed me. You will all pay." Ed's legs shook, but he could not move. She turned her head toward him, and though she said nothing more, he felt his strength drain away. By dawn, he was burning with fever. His wife cried, "What is happening to my husband?" But no healer could help. The village gathered once again, and Baba Ojo said, "We must seek answers from the river itself. Spirits do not torment without cause. Something must be done." But the people argued. Some shouted, "Let us abandon this place and move far away." Others cried, "No. This is our home. We cannot run." In the end, fear silenced them all. For how do you fight a spirit that is already dead? That night, the singing returned, sadder, louder, and closer. It was no longer just a voice, it was a warning. The next morning, Baba Ojo called all the elders to the village square. "We must speak the truth," he said. "The mermaid does not torment us without reason." The younger ones leaned forward in curiosity. Baba Ojo sighed deeply. "Many years ago, before most of you were born, the people of Aroko lived in fear of drought. No rain fell, and the river nearly dried up. In desperation, our fathers captured the mermaid who guarded this water. They begged her to give rain. But when she refused, they killed her and threw her body into the river. Gasps filled the air. Mothers covered their mouths. The truth was heavier than a stone. She was buried in this river, and her spirit has slept until now. But Ode, unknowingly, cast his net upon her resting place. And now she rises." The people wept. Some shouted angrily at the elders, "Why did you hide this from us? Why keep such a terrible secret?" Baba Ojo bowed his head. "We feared that if the truth was spoken, her spirit would hear and awaken. But silence has failed us." The mermaid's anger was not against Ode alone, it was against the entire village for what their fathers had done. At that very moment, the river roared louder than ever before. The ground shook, and a woman's voice carried on the wind, "You betrayed me. Now, I will not rest until you feel my pain." The villagers trembled. The spirit had spoken. From that day, Aroko was never the same. The children stopped laughing, the markets grew quiet, and fear spread into every corner of the land. At night, doors were locked, fires were kept burning, and yet the sound of the mermaid singing found its way into every ear. Some families began to leave. They packed their loads and moved to faraway towns, but even as they walked on the dusty road, the sound of rushing water followed them. They returned in fear, whispering, "We cannot escape her." Ode grew weaker with each passing day. The mermaid haunted his dreams, calling him the disturber of her grave. His wife cried for help, but there was none. The villagers turned to Baba Ojo again. "Elder, what can we do? How can we send her back to rest?" Baba Ojo shook his head sadly. "A spirit wronged cannot be forced away. She must be appeased. But her anger is deep, and her pain is old. This is not a simple offering of yam or palm wine. This requires a sacrifice." The word sacrifice sent fear through everyone. No one wanted to hear it, but deep in their hearts, they knew it was true. For the dead mermaid was not seeking food, she was seeking justice. That night, as the people discussed what must be done, something strange happened. A young girl named Tenny, only 15 years old, fell into a deep trance. Her eyes rolled back, and she began to speak in a voice that was not her own. "I will not leave until truth is spoken, until the river receives what was taken." The people gasped. Tenny's mother screamed, "Leave my child alone." But the girl kept speaking, her words flowing like the river itself. "The one who disturbed my grave must return what was broken. Ade must come to the river. Only then will I decide." When the spirit left her, Tenny collapsed into her mother's arms, breathing heavily. The crowd turned to Ode, whose face was pale as ash. "Me?" Ode whispered. "I never meant harm. I was only fishing." But the people knew what the spirit demanded. Ode was the chosen one. Fear filled his heart, but he could not refuse. "If my life will bring peace to this village, then so be it," he said weakly. The villagers wept, for though Ade was chosen, none knew if the mermaid would accept him or destroy him. The next dawn, the villagers gathered by the river bank. The air was heavy, and the water glowed strangely, as if lit from within. Ade stood at the edge, trembling, his wife by his side, holding his hand tightly. Baba Ojo raised his staff and prayed, "O Spirit of the river, hear us. We come in peace, not in pride. Forgive our fathers, forgive our sons. We bring Ode to answer your call." The water rippled, and the singing began again, louder, sweeter, and more sorrowful than before. Slowly, a figure rose from the river. Her hair flowed like black silk, her eyes shone like the moon, and her tail shimmered with scales. She was more beautiful and more terrifying than any tale had ever described. The villagers fell to their knees in fear. Ade, weak but determined, stepped forward. "I disturbed your grave," he said softly. "If you seek my life, then take it. But leave my people in peace." The mermaid studied him in silence, her eyes glowing. Then she whispered, "It is not your life I seek, but your truth." The mermaid's voice echoed across the land. "Long ago, your fathers bound me in chains and cast me into this river. They sought rain but gave me death. I slept in silence, forgotten, until you disturbed me. Now, I ask, will you admit the wrongs of your blood?" Ode trembled. Behind him, the villagers bowed their heads in shame. Baba Ojo stepped forward, his voice breaking. "Yes, Spirit of the river. We confess. Our fathers wronged you. They betrayed a guardian who gave them water. We ask for mercy, not because we deserve it, but because we are lost without it." The mermaid's eyes softened, but tears flowed down her cheeks. "For centuries I have waited for this truth. You cannot erase what has been done. But you can honor me. Build a shrine at the riverbank, keep my name alive, and never again let greed guide your hearts." The villagers promised, weeping. Ade bowed his head, whispering, "Forgive us." The mermaid's form shimmered like sunlight on water. She looked at Ode one last time and said, "You have given me truth. Now I return to my rest." With that, she sank back into the river, and the water calmed, clear and shining once more. For the first time in weeks, the village of Aroko felt peace. The children returned to the river, laughing once again, and the fishermen brought home baskets of fish. Palm trees lifted their heads proudly toward the sun, and the air smelled fresh after long sorrow. Ade's fever disappeared, and his strength returned. The villagers called him brave, though he only shook his head and said, "It was not bravery. It was the Spirit's mercy." As promised, the people built a small shrine at the riverbank. Every season, they brought offerings of flowers, fruits, and songs, not as bribes, but as honor to the guardian of the water. The elders taught the children never to forget the story, so that the mistake of the past would not be repeated. And though the mermaid was gone, sometimes at night, when the moon was bright, the villagers swore they could still hear her singing, no longer sad, but gentle, like a lullaby. The spirit had returned to her rest, but her memory would forever remain. On the night of the first harvest after the shrine was built, the villagers gathered by the river. They danced, sang, and poured fresh water on the shrine, thanking the guardian for her mercy. As the drums beat and the flames rose high, Ode stood quietly, listening. And then, faint but clear, he heard it, a song drifting from the river. It was her voice, soft and calm, singing not in anger, but in peace. He smiled and whispered, "Rest well, River Mother. The villagers joined hands and sang with joy, no longer in fear, but in respect. For they had learned the powerful truth: spirits are not to be feared when honored, but they rise in wrath when betrayed. The dead mermaid's torment had ended. The river was alive again, and the people of Aroko lived with gratitude, carrying her story through generations. My dear listener, the story of the dead mermaid that tormented the whole village may sound like just a tale, but within it lies wisdom. First, it teaches us that the past is never truly gone. The actions of those before us can affect the lives of those who come after. The villagers of Aroko suffered not because of its mistake, but because of the sins of their fathers. So, we must live carefully, knowing that tomorrow's children will inherit today's choices. Second, it shows the importance of truth. For years, the elders hid what their fathers had done, but silence did not protect them, it only allowed the pain to grow. It was only when they confessed that peace returned. Truth, no matter how bitter, is always the path to freedom. Finally, it reminds us to honor what gives us life. The river gave water, food, and joy, yet the villagers once betrayed its guardian. When we take without gratitude, we risk losing what sustains us. So, dear listener, remember, respect the land, the waters, and the blessings around you. Honor those who guard them, whether seen or unseen. For when we live with gratitude and truth, peace will always flow like a river. And so ends the tale of the dead mermaid who tormented the whole village. May her story live forever in your heart.